Hello Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile and we have plenty of things to talk about because Lazio just beat Sassuolo, a very, very important team. It looks like Italy won't participate to a friendly tournament this winter. So we maybe going to talk even about that. And Alison McKenzie back with us on the show again. Is the race for the fifth place still out for Lazio? Do we still have a chance? I was reading this morning that some journalists were saying even Lazio should fight for the fourth spot after Juventus losing yesterday. But let's go back a little bit and talk about what happened to Italy and how this affects Ciro Immobile, because you still have the chance to go to this friendly tournament in December, right?
Well, I was going to say, you're now getting an idea of what it feels like to be Scottish, missing 2 World Cups in a row. You should try about 5 World Cups in a row and see how you're feeling then. I'm amazed you haven't opened this show by blaming me for having gone to Palermo to watch that unfold, because I was convinced that would be the case.
I did it personally, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is somewhere we have to start. I think the game, let's be honest, it was a bit of a freak game. I think if you played the same match another 10 times, Italy probably winning that game every single time. When you've got 32 shots in a match, none of them go in. The one thing I would say in relation to Ciro, who's the one we want to talk about, is that there's no way you can blame that on one player. It is absolutely inarguable in my mind that is a collective failure. Ciro's part of that failure because he didn't score, but did he get the service to actually get these chances? No, he was pretty much having to make everything for himself. Did he do worse than the players around him? Absolutely not. Domenico Berardi missed an open goal. Lorenzo Insigne was completely invisible, and none of the subs who came on made the slightest bit of impact. And from midfield, there was basically no threat whatsoever. Mancini's got a lot to answer for the fact that he didn't change the system, didn't change the players, didn't try and do anything to alter the way that game was going. So in my mind, they deserved everything they got when that last-minute goal came in, because collectively, everyone had basically let themselves down. But it's not a surprise, sadly, to see that Immobile has become, as Maurizio Sarri put it, the sacrificial lamb for this defeat.
Yep.
Because we all know that that's the way that Azzurri fans are, sadly.
I mean, what would have happened if Ciro Immobile would have missed the chance Domenico Berardi had in the first half? I have the screenshot. Exactly. The goal was empty. He just had to push it a little bit stronger, and he was terrible. And I mean, if that was Immobile, I think Gazzetta dello Sport would have asked to retire the player, to prohibit him to play football anymore. Berardi, as I mentioned often, it's not the type of winger that works very well with a striker. He doesn't pass the ball ever. And he had 4 chances and missed them, all of them. And I mean, the one in the first half was simply embarrassing. But again, the performance of Italy was awful. Insigne, I repeat, Insigne scored just 1 out of penalty this season, and obviously it was against Lazio. Apart from that, he pretty much didn't show up. And to be honest, when they scored, I thought, wow, this looks like a Lazio match. We dominate for 90 minutes, and then they have one chance, only chance, and they score. That was simply unbelievable. But yeah, for example, Barella, it's 1 month and a half that he's not playing good football, and he started instead of Tonali, and a lot of decision from Mancini was unbelievable. You're living in Italy. You have been living in Italy for a long time. Were you surprised that Mancini didn't give up? Didn't say, "Okay, I failed. I give up. I withdraw."
Not really, because I think this is a unique case. In any other circumstances, you'd expect the manager to either walk away or be sacked, to be honest, given the scale of the failure. But I think a couple of things with him, firstly, having won the Euros only 9 months ago, and secondly, this having been a second successive failure, you might say it's not quite the shock maybe that it was the first time. Even though this is a more shocking result than losing to Sweden, there's something less shocking about failing to qualify for a World Cup if you did exactly the same thing 4 years ago. And also, I don't think that actually. I think this is a good opportunity for people to start talking about a root and branch review of Italian football and the crisis in the youth system and the complete failure of Serie A clubs to be producing and giving game time to young Italian players. All of that's good, and we should take this opportunity to do that. But at the same time, I don't think that this actually really illustrates that the Italian national team is suddenly awful after 9 months. I think, in my mind, what it comes down to is that winning the Euros was essentially that team reaching the absolute peak of its potential and being at its absolute best, whereas this Macedonia game was the lowest end of its potential and that team at its absolute worst. So in my mind, we've just seen the two extremes of this Italy side in the space of 9 months, and they've had the absolute high of winning a major trophy and the absolute low of the humiliating failure to get to the World Cup. So I don't mind the idea that Mancini stays on, but I just think that he's going to have to accept his role in that and not just think of it as, oh, this is a one-off fluke match that has happened. I think he has to be pretty honest in his assessment of what's gone wrong and how to change things. And perhaps he's been too loyal to the players that won him that Euros in the first place. But I think it's time for him to shake things up again. What do you think about this idea of Immobile walking away from the national team, though, bringing it back to Ciro? And do you sympathise with that and think, I've seen some Lazio fans say, why bother? Why put up with this criticism? Why accept this unfair treatment he's getting all the time and just focus on Lazio where everyone loves him? His Lazionale.
Yeah. Well, there was a banner at the stadium on Saturday from Lazio Libertà that said, "Ciro, we are your national team," pretty much translated that way. I don't know. I have to say that in some way it would be funny because, I mean, they're saying that Raspadori is at the same level of Ciro Immobile, and this makes me laugh so loud that, it's completely nonsense. When was it? Around September, people were saying Keane, the Juventus player, he's better than Ciro Immobile. And, we are in March. Well, no, April started. I don't know. Did he score 2 goals in the season so far? I mean, he's embarrassing. So, yeah, in a point of view, if Ciro decided to not accept the call from the national team, we could really see that he's not the guy to blame. It's all the system. But on the other side, going back to Lazio, Alistair, I thought that you could see that Ciro wanted this Saturday really to prove everybody wrong. He tried too hard to score and missed a couple of very good chances that usually Ciro doesn't miss. I think this affected him in the performance Saturday and will affect all the rest of the team, I think, because honestly, I was thinking that, okay, we're going to beat Macedonia and then lose against Portugal. Instead, going out immediately against Macedonia at home, that was simply unexpected and unbelievable. So I think this have affected Italian players, just like Ciro Immobile. On the other side, Lazzari had a terrific performance, and I thought he was coming back from an injury, but Lazzari would have been very useful for this national team. And we saw it Saturday. I thought he had a great performance.
Yeah, and it's a good point. It's exactly the kind of player that national team was missing, really, actually, because by losing Spinazzola and Chiesa, they lost kind of two of the only players who can really beat a man and and attack directly down the flanks in that way the Lazzari does. And by bringing in Florenzi, you're not replacing that. You're not having with Florenzi and Emerson, you're not having the same threat from fullback that a guy like Lazzari would give you. That said, it's not like Lazzari's been playing this way all season long. I think that was probably one of his best performances, if not the best performance of the entire season from Lazzari. And he was pretty open about that himself after the game, saying how he's had physical problems and adapting from the 4 to 5, 5 to 4 man defense and the high line and stuff. It's all quite new and quite difficult. So he's pretty honest about that. But
I thought before the injury, he was playing great football, honestly. And so I thought that maybe he could get a call. And the other thing, I mean, you mentioned Florenzi. Florenzi is a sub in AC Milan and Calabria is starting, and on the national team is exactly the opposite. This doesn't make sense.
Calabria doesn't even get on the bench for the national team.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't understand this. Saying that, it was funny because Lazzari said to Sarria at the end of the match, he was playing in the 5 midfielders before and never scored more than 2 goals in a season. Now he's playing in a right back and he scored 3 goals and the season is not over. So that's really funny. And I think one of the positive thing is the combination between Lazzari and Felipe Anderson. They can be really dangerous. And even though Felipe Anderson didn't shine, what I really appreciate about Felipe Anderson is that he's smart enough to go back and cover the position of Lazzari when he's attacking. I saw it often from the stadium Saturday, and it was good to see a player that usually has a very attack mindful to see him defending like that and covering Lazzari. I thought that is a very interesting duo. While on the other side, Maruzic is a little bit too shy. He should be supporting Zaccagni a little bit more. So I really think that Lazzari could be a very interesting player. And the other question that came up as you were talking about him, Emerson Palmieri has been linked to Lazio. You saw him playing with the national team. Do you think that would be an improvement, a good signing for Lazio, or evaluating that he could cost 10, 12 million euros, do you think that's wasted money?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's obviously it's a position where we need we need new players and we need strength and depth as well. And so I would welcome the signing, but I guess not at the expense of. It's the same old question, not at the expense of other positions not being fulfilled. There's a lot of issues with this team in terms of what it requires this summer, and also the number of players who are out of contract coming up. And I mean, what is an enormous transfer window this summer. I can't really think of another one in recent memory that's been as important as this, not just because of the number of players who are leaving and the weaknesses in the squad, but also the fact that it's so important in order to satisfy Maurizio Sarri and convince him that he's in the right place, and to really keep Lazio up as a top 6 contender in Serie A. So yeah, I don't know about Emerson. Perhaps if it can strike a deal for a good price, then fine. But I don't think he's. I mean, he's better than a Husai as a signing, but I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to come in and transform the way this team plays necessarily.
Yeah, I was expecting something more from him in the national team. It's true that every player didn't perform as expected against Macedonia, so couldn't expect him to shine. You mentioned the transfer market. I was thinking Saturday, watching the match, that as the chances of Strakosha to renew decreases, his performance on the pitch improves. I mean,
coincidence?
I don't know. But again, Saturday, another good performance. One of his problems is, the playing with the ball, and he made a mistake Saturday, but he's improving getting out and grabbing the ball in the air, which we often discuss about it. I don't know. Do you think he's more relaxed now that he's not staying?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is an Iglitare masterstroke, and he's decided, right, we'll wait until the very end just to keep him motivated, and then we'll give him a contract right at the last minute. I don't know. He needs to impress, I guess, as well. It's in his own interest as much as anything. If he's wanting a new club, he needs to put himself in the shop window. But also, I think he's probably just benefiting from the reliability and the trust of knowing that he is the number one now. It's been quite a long time since he's had that feeling of being certain he's going to play every week, and it's not been that long that he's had that kind of certainty, which makes it all the more baffling, I guess, that this contract isn't forthcoming, and that we're not going to get any money for a keeper who 2 years ago was being linked with moves away for, I don't know, around 20 million or so. So yes, he was good though. I mean, it's worth remembering that. I think that, again, I can't really remember a game playing Sassuolo where we've looked as comfortable as we did on Saturday. It's usually such a tricky game against a team that love to keep the ball and pass it around very well and cause all sorts of problems. But Lazio really impressed me on Saturday. Really, really good performance. But Sassuolo did have their chances. So yeah, you're right to highlight Strakosha, because especially in the first half, I think there's about 3 before half time, and it's moments like that make the difference. Because if Pepe Reina's in goal and he fails to make those saves, the momentum can completely change. The confidence of the players can completely change, and it's a different game all of a sudden. So really impressive from him. Perhaps not as much as Sergei Milinkovic Savio, though, because he was on another planet on Saturday. What do you reckon? One of his best Lazio performances? Would you go that far?
Well, I don't know if one of the best, but you can say that he's improving. I remember still people believing that he wasn't suited for the 4-3-3 of Maurizio Sarri. I thought maybe after November, he stepped up and playing great football. And I agree with Sarri saying that he's not continuous as you would love to, but he's playing great football. And I still believe that the goal, he missed the ball. He wanted to shot on the right side of Consigli. He sort of didn't take it the right way, right? And still managed to score it. But he's everywhere. I mean, I didn't like Luis Alberto's performance, but I thought Milinkovic was everywhere. He's simply amazing. And probably the fact that Sassuolo scored when he was subbed is not a coincidence, right?
I think it was one of the best demonstrations of his technical ability that we've seen, his ball control and first touch and just spatial awareness. You know, he knows, he makes everything look very calm and easy because he's so aware of where the opposition players are and where the space is on the pitch. And I thought the video that, it's not often we come on here and praise the Lazio social media accounts, but but I thought the video they put together of his kind of highlight reel from the game was really good, because it really demonstrated that spatial awareness and his ridiculous technique. All these little flicks and, the first touches and the way he takes the ball down, and the chance he set up for Ciro that Ciro blasted off over the bar. He must have been furious, because that would have been an amazing assist. But yeah, he's also having one of his most productive seasons. It is interesting, isn't it? Because I think this was a debate. I think some people were really excited about what he could do under a coach like Sarri. If you get a player of that ability playing for a coach who likes to play a certain way, and then perhaps other people saying, "Oh, but he was tailor-made for Inzaghi ball." But now he's got this. He's proven that he is this complete midfielder, really, because he's completely changed system. And 9 goals, 9 assists, I think now.
Yes, something like that.
Incredibly productive year he's having.
70 goals and 19 assists through the last two Serie A season. And it makes me laugh a little bit when the valuation of Milinkovic Savio is around 70 million euros. I mean, that cannot be right? After this type of performance, I think he's worth much more than that. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen this summer. I think that playing under Sarri, it's a benefit for him because Sarri is a very offensive mind type of player, and usually midfielder with Sarri have more chances, are more closer to the penalty box, and that's what's happening to Milinkovic Savio. So I think he still can improve, and with Sarri, he will have more chances to score and be decisive. I have to tell you that when he went down in the second half, I was really scared because Lazio has still a chance to arrive fifth, and without Milinkovic Savio, it's going to be really complicated. He's such a great football player. Seeing Roma and Atalanta playing yesterday, do you think we still have a chance, Alistair, of reaching the fifth place?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not the most exciting race, is it? The race for fifth, but 2 points is the gap. We want to be in the Europa League rather than the Conference League, without doubt. So it is more important than perhaps it sounds. Juve are probably a bit too far away at this point, let's be honest. Been saying that for a while. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just we still don't know. This has happened before. We've been impressed by Lazio's improvement, even were leading up to the derby around the Porto games and some performances around then, even the Napoli game where we're really unlucky to get the result we did. Yeah. But Lazio do blow hot and cold. They are still the same team built with the same weaknesses mentally that they were under Inzaghi, and the derby proved that, sadly, because that performance was totally unacceptable. Sarri said after the Sassuolo game that he was ashamed after that, and it's kind of nice to hear him say something like that. He's not offering a defense for that performance. But I think we need to see now what we saw against Sassuolo consistently to the end of the season, and then we can, no matter where we finish, we can at least feel like we've ended the season having made big progress. And that's the most important thing for me, is kind of ending the season feeling like, wow, this team is really getting somewhere with Sarri.
I think the next three matches are going to be the key, because Roma is playing against Salernitana, so it's going to be a three easy win, while we are playing away against Genoa, and we have terrible memories there. And then Roma is playing against Inter and Milan, if I'm not wrong. And Napoli, yes, sorry. Inter and Napoli, and we are playing against Torino and Milan at home. So if we can win those last three games, I'm not sure Roma will get 9 points out of that. I would be surprised if they get more than 4. So, there's a big chance that we can pass them there. And then we have comfortable matches, both of us, till Roma-Fiorentina and Lazio-Juventus. So I think the next three would be fundamental for Lazio. But I was looking today that there's a second chance, because if Fiorentina goes out in the Coppa Italia semi-final against Juventus and they already lost at home 1-0, then even the 6th place will be available for the Europa League group. So Lazio could even finish 6th. So I think Europa League has to be our target, not only because you achieve at least something, but for the money, revenue. Europa League has been becoming richer and richer, and it's like 10-15 million euros that can really change the transfer market for Lazio. So we have to achieve there. I know a lot of us followers have said, no, it's better not be in Europe next year so we can focus on the league. That's right, but you will lose so much money that I don't know if you're going to sign 8 players like we need now. So this is my take. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely. And I just don't get this idea of people wanting to kind of sacrifice Europe to focus on the league so that then we can qualify for Europe. It makes no sense to me. European football is really what it's all about for a club like Lazio. Like that's where we want to be making our mark and obviously getting the Champions League if possible, but it's been disappointing, really. Lazio in Europe. I think I said in a previous podcast that I saw this stat this year about how Lazio have played the second most games in the Europa League of any club. I think only behind Villarreal, and the best we've ever managed was a quarter-final in the Europa League era, that is. So that is disappointing, but we want to, we definitely want to be in that competition. I'd be amazed if sixth place isn't a Europa League spot, because it always is, because when was the last time a team outside of the top six won the Coppa Italia?
I think Lazio was the last one.
Maybe Lazio, yeah. But yeah, this year I would be surprised if Fiorentina win the Coppa. We'll see.
Or reach the final.
I know you wanted to talk about Francesco Acerbi, though.
Yeah, because probably the people at home didn't know this. Well, he's been booed again all match long by the Curva Nord. And one of the things is, in the past, when the Curva Nord was booing Acerbi, the rest of the stadium was booing the Curva Nord. This time it didn't happen. I think this has a lot to do with his performance at the derby. But I think the biggest issue had is, after the match, all Lazio players and even someone of the bench came to thank the fan. They did the walk around the stadium, etc. Everybody except Acerbi. He went directly to the locker. And I can understand that he doesn't like to walk around and be booed. But, I mean, you're a Lazio player. You're a man. You should go out with the rest of the players. Maybe it was a chance to, try to solve the issue. Instead, he decided to go directly home. And I think, Alistair, this proves you that his mind is set, right? He wants to leave Lazio at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, there's probably only so much of that you can take before you start considering your options, really. If you don't feel wanted by your own fans, it's not nice. And it's a shame to hear that's the resistance from the rest of the fans stopped this time, because it's up until now that's very much been a kind of trademark of recent Lazio games, has been Acerbi getting the ball, the Curva boos, and everyone else boos the Curva. So it's another problem, though. It's like a self-inflicted problem on top of everything else. If Acerbi does end up, because of these personal reasons and these off-pitch reasons, really, leaving the club. We've got Luis Felipe heading off to Betis on a free transfer. Acerbi, if he does leave, is not going to bring in a big transfer fee given his age. Patrick is out of contract at the moment in the summer. So we are left with basically no centre-backs apart from Stefan Radu, aged 65, and Kamenovic, who apparently exists. So it's
cool with the national team.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes things even more complicated. And that's
Alistair, reasons. At the end of the match, again, Maurizio Sarri praised Patrick.
Yeah,
I have to say he had a good match, but I couldn't expect Sarri again praising Patrick. Do you think Lazio is working out a way to renew his contract? And, we talked about him already, but it's strange that I feel comfortable of having Patrick starting instead of Luis Felipe.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has been, by his standards, he's been pretty consistent this season, really. I wouldn't say consistently amazing, but consistently good or fine. And for Patrick at centre back, that's more than we perhaps expected. I still don't. I think I've said this several times before, but I still think he's got a ceiling that he shouldn't be going above. I don't think he should be starting for Lazio in really high pressure games or Champions League matches or anything like that. But I do think he does a job in your average Serie A match and has a place in the squad because of that. So do we really think we're gonna go out into the market and buy like 4 players who are better than that and have the money to do it? I'm not really not so sure. So
No.
At this point, I would welcome a contract extension for Patrick because I just don't think. I think we've got so much else to do that it would be quite nice. I think we had a question, well, I remember actually on this from Karsten Krock, about how it's going with Sarri's renewal and any news on the 8 or so players that need renewed this summer.
Well, the only news we have is that Adam Marusic, right? Adam Marusic renewed his contract. There wasn't any official announcement, but from the balance sheet of Lazio, we found out that he renewed the contract for 2 years. And the other funny thing is that even Marius Adamonis, the third string goalkeeper, renewed his contract. Don't ask me why. So this is funny, but
is that not the youth player requirements or something? Probably.
I don't know. Maybe it's that the reason. But yeah, those are the only 2 players that renew the contract. So Marusic will be with Lazio for 2 years. No news about Strakosha and so on. Well, we know that Luis Felipe is very close to Betis, so I think he's gone. But on the other players, nothing. It looks like there's going to be a meeting this week between Sarri and Lotito for the renewal contract of Sarri. So we're going to find out maybe in the coming days. Apart from that, I don't have any news. I don't know if you have other updates about it.
No, I mean, I think that the Sarri thing just sounds like the Inzaghi contract all over again. I mean, how many times have we heard about this contract for? I mean, they started this off so early, you know. It was like 2 months in or something we started talking about this. So yeah, in my mind, I can't really imagine Sarri committing until he's given some real assurances about what this team's going to look like, what he's going to get. And I do not blame him in the slightest if that's his take on it. I just don't. The Marusic thing is so weird. Why would you not communicate that? Why would you not announce it? Like,
but it's not the first time, right?
Embarrassed to be giving him a new contract. What? I just can't work out the logic behind secretly giving out a new contract if that's what's happened.
But it's not the first time, Alistair, because even with the Immobile and Acerbi renewal contract, we didn't know. We find out on the balance sheet again. So
I did see you tweeting, actually. I don't know, I've not read this myself, but apparently that Cabral is not going to stay as well.
Big surprise. Incredible. Who could expect that, right? It looks like Lazio from what is it, Abola.pt, that Lazio communicate to Sporting that they're not going to sign Cabral, which is surprising as he hasn't played a second in the last month or so. So incredible breaking news and unexpected news.
Again, what was the point? He doesn't actually look that bad as well. I mean,
but this proves you, Alistair, that we didn't need that type of player, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was almost like a PR move, trying to parade him as being the big January signing, the Vice Immobile, when he's actually just another winger who was available at the right time.
And the other, the other breaking news is that Akpa Pro is back. He played.
Yeah.
And
I saw it,
And it was funny because I don't know if you noticed from the TV, but Raul Moro and Luca Romero warm up pretty much all the second half. And then it started pouring down. Hailstorm came. And I think Sarri changed his mind, thinking, okay, if I bring those two up, we're going to lose a player because the pitch is so heavy. So suddenly, Akpa Pro start warming up, and after 5 minutes, he was in, while Luca Romero and Raul Moro keep warming up, and they never come in. So I think it was a decision due to the weather. But it was good to see Akpa Pro back because I didn't think he played a single minute in 2022, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to check, actually, when his last game was. I mean, apparently he's played 9 games this season in total. But I can't. I'm going so far back trying to find his last game was also against Sassuolo. Funnily enough, the 12th of December, he started against Sassuolo when we lost 2-1. So there you go. Yeah, you're right. No games in this calendar year so far.
Yeah, that was a surprising back, which can be useful for the end of the season. He came on for Luis Alberto, I think. while Basic came in from Milinkovic Savio, or the other way around. I don't remember now. I'm a little bit confused. But yeah, it was good to see him back because we need players there. We have to mention Ramoro, Alistair, before we wrap it up. What happened on Friday night, I think it was. He and his dad was stopped at the motorway around Roma, and thief that was pretending to be cops steal his car and punch him. He had a black eye on Saturday night, and it was pretty much visible. It was a terrible experience. So that wasn't very good, but he was there. He was warming up, and yeah, awful experience for him. It hasn't been a lucky season for Lazio player. Maruzic has been robbed of a watch with a gun in his face, and then Ramoro has been punched and the car been stolen. Roma is becoming a little bit like Bronx.
Yeah, it's there's been a few of these stories. I mean, remember the Chris Smalling one when his house got invaded as well. It's
yeah,
you know, what's going on? Vittorio and his criminal friends running around terrorizing people. Just one more thing I wanted to mention before we finish was because this is the first time we've been doing a podcast since the news, but Sinisa Mihailovic back in hospital for more cancer treatment, and I hear that there were chants of support and so on at the stadium on Saturday, and obviously at Lazio Lounge we're right behind him. So Forza Sinisa, we're with you.
Yeah, there was a nice banner as well in Curva.
Great. That's that, I think.
Yep, I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Remember, you can follow us on Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We are on video on YouTube and Twitch. Follow us on Twitch as well. And if you want to support us, there's patreon.com/Lazio Lounge, and even our merchandising. If you want to support us, here's a jumper we made. So, buying these jumpers, you can help us improve our product and keep on going. So thank you again, guys, for listening, and talk to you next Monday, I believe, but not with Alistair McKenzie. He's going again on holiday.
Yeah, sorry, my last performance on Lazio Lounge for a couple of weeks. So don't ruin the podcast without me, Vittorio. Okay, leaving it in your trusty hands.
Okay, we'll try our best. Ciao, everybody.